In our very busy Sunday here, we are about to have the blessing of the Vasilopita. I just wanted to give you a little background on this before we actually do the blessing. It's an interesting legend. We have St. Basil back in the 4th century who had a reputation for standing up to evil regimes and emperors who were corrupt. He would stand up to them on behalf of the people who were taking this unholy government was taking advantage of the people. And so he stood up to them, and I'm going to give you one example of a little dialogue between an emperor and St. Basil, and then just a brief little story about the Vasilopita itself, where again he stood up to an evil regime. The Emperor Valens, mercilessly sending into exile any bishop who displeased him, and having implanted Arianism into other Asia Minor provinces, suddenly appeared in Cappadocia, where St. Basil was, for this same purpose. He did not like that St. Basil didn't ascribe to his heresy of Arianism, that Christ wasn't fully God. So he sent his prefect Modestus to St. Basil. He began to threaten the saint with confiscation of his property and banishment and beatings and death. St. Basil said to the magistrate, to the prefect, concerning taking away my possessions, what can you take from a man who owns nothing? How can that be a threat to me? Unless you want to have these tattered clothes that I'm wearing, or the few books which represent the entirety of my substance. And if you threaten me with exile, it's no threat to me, since I have no place to call my own. This place in which I now dwell is not mine. All belongs to God, and I am merely passing guest, enjoying his hospitality in any place you send me. And as for torture, how can I suffer that, since I barely have a body? I'm so weak, the first blow will render me senseless. Death would be a kindness to me. You'd be doing me a favor. For by it, I will go to God the sooner, to whom I live and labor, to whom I hasten. The official was stunned by his answer. No one has ever spoken so audaciously to me. The saint remarked, perhaps it's because you have never spoken to a bishop. This Vasilopita, another prefect, another emperor, another corrupt governor, was taxing the people of his diocese. So much so that now they had to give up even the precious heirlooms, things that had been handed down to them that meant something to them. Now they had to give up even that. And they collected all the gold and silver and everything they had. They hardly had anything to eat. And Basil again stood up to them. And he said to the prefect, you know, what you're doing is immoral. It is unthinkable. And after a bit of a more strong tirade, the prefect actually listened to him, and he said, you're right. Somehow he convinced the emperor, and the emperor gave back everything to the people, to St. Basil. But now the problem was, how am I going to distribute this back to the people? Who gets what? It's going to be a mess. So they prayed about it. St. Basil said, give me a day. He prayed to the Theotokos. He prayed to the Lord. And the idea came to him to build this one huge pita, basil bread, basil pie, basil cake, whatever you want to call it. And he placed all those heirlooms in the bread. And he distributed, and each one, it says, miraculously, according to the legend, received their own gifts, their own things that they had to give up. I'll tell you, I'm a little suspicious of that legend. And it doesn't have to be that miracle. I don't know. It doesn't have to be, yes, everything was perfect, everything, but, you know, we live in an imperfect world. But I do believe that whatever the people received, somehow everyone was satisfied. That is a miracle. Somehow to make 300, I don't know, 1,000 Greeks all satisfied, that is a miracle. So this is the miracle I'm praying for today as we do the Vasilopita. I want everybody happy. So let's start with the service.